Brace yourself. A human warship is incoming, no survivors, no trace, only ashes. The airlock hissed open on the Kestrel 9, and Ambassador Thule Vex of the Coalition felt her 4 hearts stutter in unison. There was nothing left of the boarding party. No blood, no bodies. Just 17 sets of armor, empty as discarded shells, arranged in a perfect circle on the deck, and at the center, a single human woman kneeling with her hands folded, waiting. You said humans were extinct adjacent, Thule Vex whispered to her aide. You said this ship posed no threat. The human looked up. Her eyes were calm, almost gentle. I didn't kill them, she said. I just asked them to leave. They agreed it was for the best. Behind her, on the bulkhead, something had been carved into the metal in Coalition script, the letters still smoking from whatever tool had made them. No survivors, no trace. Only ashes. Thule Vex's translator struggled with the tone. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise already kept. But none of this had begun that way. 3 days earlier, the human vessel Kestrel 9 had been drifting, dead in the water, on the edge of the Threnody Belt, a graveyard of shattered asteroids where 4 alien empires had fought their last great war 2 centuries ago. The coalition of vested systems, a fragile alliance of 6 species still nursing old wounds, had detected the ship by accident, a single, sputtering distress beacon, broadcasting in a language none of their linguists could place. Fleet Commander Iskar Vondrash of the Drenai, a race of armored quadrupeds bred for war and pride in equal measure, had wanted to destroy it outright. Humanity, he rumbled to the assembled council, is a rumor, a ghost story we tell younglings to make them behave. There is no such species, not anymore. He was overruled by the Coalition's civilian arm, led by Thule Vex, a diplomat of the Senorai, an ancient race of scholars whose bodies had evolved past physical combat entirely, relying instead on words, treaties, and the slow patience of centuries. She insisted on first contact protocol. If humans were real, and if even one of them lived, the Coalition owed them the dignity of an approach, at minimum. So a shuttle was dispatched, carrying Thule Vex, 2 Senorai attendants, and a squad of Drenai soldiers under Vondrash's reluctant command. The Kestrel 9 was smaller than they expected. No larger than a Coalition patrol frigate, its hull scarred with the pitting of countless micrometeor strikes, its markings faded but proud, a stylized bird of prey, wings spread over the words United Earth Deep Space Command. Beneath that, painted in smaller letters, almost an afterthought. Last of the Third Fleet. Third Fleet, Thule Vex murmured. There is no record of a first or second. Perhaps there is no need, said Vondrash, for a species to count past what remains. They boarded through a breach in the outer hull, weapons ready, expecting derelict silence or perhaps hostile automated defenses. Instead they found lights dim, rationed, but on, air recyclers humming, and in the command chamber, waiting calmly in a chair that had clearly not been designed for comfort, sat a woman. Her name, she told them, was Captain Mirail Aldana. She looked perhaps 40 by human reckoning, though the Coalition had no baseline to judge human aging. Her uniform was patched in a dozen places. Her eyes carried the particular stillness of someone who had run out of things to fear. I've been waiting for someone to come, she said, in Coalition Standard, flawlessly translated by a device on her wrist that none of their engineers recognized. I was starting to think no one would. Vondrash's soldiers tensed at the weaponless woman speaking their tongue with such ease. Thule Vex raised a hand to still them. You are Terran, the ambassador said. Human. We believed your species extinct. We believed that too. For a while, Mireille said. Would you like to sit? This is going to take longer than a greeting. That was the first twist no one expected. Humanity was not extinct, and this woman knew it before they said the word. The council chamber back on Coalition High Reach erupted the moment Thule Vex's report arrived. 6 species, 6 delegations, all shouting over each other in a dozen dialects the translation arrays struggled to keep pace with. The Voska, insectile and hive-minded, worried about resource competition. The Ophir Concord, slow-moving crystalline beings who measured time in decades, wanted patience above all. And the Drenai wanted, as always, to know how many warships humanity possessed. That is the wrong question, Thule Vex said. silencing the chamber with the particular quiet authority the Senarai had cultivated over 4,000 years of diplomacy. The right question is why she is alone, why one ship, why one woman, sitting in the dark waiting for us to find her. No one had an answer, and that absence of an answer was its own kind of dread. Mireille told her story slowly, over the following day, as if each word cost her something. Earth, she said, had fallen silent generations ago, not destroyed, but withdrawn, isolated by a catastrophe she wouldn't fully name. The Third Fleet had been sent out not to conquer, not even to explore, but to witness, to carry Earth's memory into the stars in case the homeworld itself did not survive whatever came next. There were 40 ships in the Third Fleet, she said. I am what is left. 39 ships were destroyed? Vondrash asked, and for the first time there was something other than contempt in his voice. No, Mireille said. 39 ships chose to stay behind, to hold a line so the 40th could carry word forward. I am not a survivor of a battle, Commander. I am a courier who happened to live. That silenced even the Draenei, but the truth stunned the entire galaxy in ways no one at that table anticipated. Because 3 days later, when the Kestrel 9 finally powered its long-dormant weapons array for a routine diagnostic, Coalition sensors detected something impossible. A signature matching a starship class that predated every empire in the room by 600 years. Human technology wasn't primitive, it was ancestral. The bones from which half the Coalition's own engines had, in some tangled and unacknowledged way, evolved. The Ophir Concord's archivists nearly rioted with excitement. The Draenei grew quiet, recalculating everything they thought they knew about strength. And that was when the true danger arrived. The Krath Dominion had been hunting the Kestrel 9 for 6 years. No one in the Coalition knew this yet, because the Krath did not announce themselves. They were not a species so much as a doctrine. An empire of engineered soldiers, their leadership caste's minds fused generations ago into a single command intelligence called the Convergence. The Krath had encountered a fragment of Earth's Third Fleet once before, in a battle that had cost them an entire battle group and taught them, in the ugliest way possible, that humans should never be allowed to reach a populated system and speak. The Convergence had sent a hunter ship, cloaked and patient, trailing the Kestrel 9 across 4 systems, waiting for the moment humanity would finally lower its guard among strangers who might believe her stories. That moment had just arrived. The hunter ship dropped its cloak directly above Coalition High Reach with no warning at all, weapons already charged, and the Council Chamber's alarms screamed to life mid-session. Krath vessel identified, the tactical officer shouted, weapons hot, they are demanding we surrender the human. Vondrash was on his feet immediately, old instincts overriding old contempt. Surrender her to what? They call her a plague, the officer said, voice shaking. They say if we do not hand her over, they will burn High Reach to bedrock to be certain the infection does not spread. Every alien in that chamber turned to look at the small, patched-up woman standing quietly near the viewport, watching the Krath ship's shadow fall across the station like a blade. Mireille didn't look frightened. She looked tired, in the way of someone who had had this exact conversation before, on other stations, in front of other councils, and had grown weary of explaining it. They're not wrong to call it that, she said. Not entirely. The Ophir Concord's eldest archivist froze mid-thought. You are agreeing with them? I'm saying humanity spreads ideas the Krath can't allow to exist, Miri said. Ideas like choice, like no. The Convergence cannot process a species that would rather die free than live obedient. It isn't a weapons platform they fear. It's a sentence. 2 words, really, I refuse. Vondrash had spent his career believing humans were myths built to comfort weaker species. Standing there, hearing this woman speak of her own extermination, with the calm of someone discussing weather, he felt something shift in his chest that he did not yet have language for. Give them their answer, he said abruptly. Ambassador, tell them no. Thulvex's 4 hearts pounded. Refusing the Krath had never gone well for anyone in living memory. Commander, our defense grid cannot withstand. I did not ask if we could win, Vondrash said. I asked if we would be the kind of people who hand over a guest to be executed because we are afraid. My people have been many things. Cowards were never among them, whatever else you believed of us. That was the moment the coalition, fractious and frightened, chose humanity over survival's easier math. The Krath response was immediate and merciless. Boarding pods launched from the hunter ship, aimed not at the station's defenses but directly at the Kestrel 9, docked quietly at Bay 7. 17 Krath soldiers, augmented, voiceless, moving with the horrifying unity of a single mind wearing 17 bodies, breached the old ship's hull within minutes. They expected an empty relic, a dying woman with nothing left to fight with. They found Mireille waiting in the center of her own ship, unarmed, kneeling, hands folded, precisely as Thulvex would find her afterward. What happened in those 6 minutes, no external sensor fully captured. The Kestrel 9's internal systems recorded only fragments. Mireille's voice, calm and unhurried, speaking words in no language the Krath's translators could parse. Not commands, not threats. Something older, cadences some archivists later theorized were pre-collapse Terran, hymnal in structure, almost liturgical. Whatever it was, the Convergence's soldiers, minds fused into an unbreakable collective will, began, one by one, to hesitate, then to kneel, then, according to the ship's logs, to simply walk back out the airlock into vacuum, their suits' external audio still open, repeating a single phrase in broken coalition standard before the channel went dead. We were wrong. We were wrong to make ourselves this way. It wasn't magic, it wasn't even, Mireille would later insist, entirely her doing. The Krath's mind fusion made them ferociously strong and catastrophically fragile in one particular way. If you could reach even one thread of that collective consciousness, with a truth it could not unhear, the fracture spread through all of them at once. Earth's Third Fleet, in its long dark years, had learned this lessons at terrible cost, and Mireille had carried that knowledge across 6 systems, specifically for a moment like this one. I didn't kill them, she told Thulvex, in the wreckage quiet aftermath. I just asked them to leave. They agreed it was for the best. The hunter ship itself, its convergence mind suddenly severed from 17 critical nodes, drifted powerless above high reach, an empty and defeated thing. The Coalition Council convened one final time, shaken and changed. Vondrash, who had begun this story insisting humans were rumor, now stood and proposed something no Draenei had proposed in 3 centuries, a formal alliance, not of conquest, but of shared defense. We called them ghosts, he said. Ghosts do not kneel to offer mercy to their killers. We were wrong about what strength means. I would rather stand beside this woman than ever again stand against something like her. Mireille, offered a seat among the Coalition's founding species, only smiled, faint, worn, but real. I'm not here to be your weapon, she said. I'm here because Earth asked me to find out if the galaxy still had room for people who choose kindness even when cruelty would be easier. I think, she looked around the chamber, at aliens who 3 days earlier would have shot her on sight. I finally have an answer worth carrying home. Thulvex watched her go, and for the first time in 4,000 years of Senarai diplomacy, found herself without a single prepared word. She had come expecting to catalogue a curiosity. She was leaving having witnessed something closer to a miracle wearing patched cloth and quiet eyes. She would spend decades afterward, trying to write down what it meant, and never quite finish the sentence. Somewhere far beyond the Threnody Belt, an old and silent Earth would one day receive a signal from a 40th ship it had given up counting on, carrying not conquest, not tragedy, but proof that even the last ember of a fire could still light something new. No survivors. No trace. Only ashes. The Krath had promised the galaxy. In every warning ever whispered about humanity's ghost fleet, they had simply never imagined the ashes would be their own, and that from them, something gentler than vengeance would rise instead.